Welcome to the TikTok Podcast, a place for real conversations about Lyme disease and tick-borne illness. Hosted by Christina Murphy, Lyme advocate, educator, and vice president of the LEAF program. This podcast brings together patients, doctors, researchers, and families, working to change how Lyme is understood, treated, and prevented. These are the stories, the science, and the voices driving awareness forward.
What makes for a perfect custom engagement ring? Truly understanding the elements that make a ring that's perfect for you. Custom by Colonial. The Colonial Jewelers box. There's just more in it.
Sponsored by Atlas Wood Floors. Serving the area for more than 34 years. Wood floors, luxury vinyl plank. Anything that you put on your floor, they can handle it. Check out their Google reviews and give them a call today. 301-948-9663. That's 301-948. Wood. Be sure to ask for Jeff Koger or go to atlaswoodfloors.net.
Bringing you guys.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, we're back. Guys, and just start from scratch.
Okie dokie. All right. Welcome to Everything Frederick Live. And this is Frederick TikTok with me, Christina Murphy, and today's guest is Rebekah Ontiveros, and we're doing the topic of food choices after a tick bite. So before I begin, I'm going to explain about another infection that can be gotten from a tick called alpha-gal syndrome. Alpha-gal syndrome is a serious, potentially life-threatening allergy that can develop after a tick bite. Alpha-gal is a molecule that is found in most mammals, and people with the syndrome may react after eating red meat, being exposed to other products like milk containing alpha-gal. Reactions and individual triggers can vary, which is one of the reasons awareness and guidance from a healthcare professional is very important. So, Rebekah, welcome back to Frederick TikTok.
Hi, Christina. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy. For anyone meeting you for the first time, would you tell us a little about yourself and your journey?
Absolutely. So my journey actually began in education. I used to be an education director in Northern Virginia for about 10 years before I decided to quit the corporate space and open a bakery with my sister.
Okay.
So that's probably where Frederick County knows us the most. Sally and I owned Hive Cake Shop out in Brunswick, Maryland, where we were fortunate enough to be invited on Food Network, Holiday Wars, Netflix, and a couple other really cool food guru places. So that's probably where you've seen us. Nowadays, you're going to see me more in the advocacy space, promoting awareness around Lyme disease.
Wonderful. I am blessed to have you here. Thank you. You used the phrase bitten, not broken on, oh my goodness. Now I can't remember.
On my social media.
Yes,
I know
thank
you're
you.
Lyme brain. It's late in the evening. I'm surprised it didn't happen to me first. Yes, bitten, not broken.
I know. So what does that mean to you?
To me, so Lyme disease is something that I consider happened to me because it was triggered by a bite,
Right.
So I was bitten. My life was changed, altered. Things happened to me out of my control, but I don't want those things to break me or to break the trajectory of what I do with my life.
Right.
Therefore, bitten, not broken.
Right. At what point of your illness did you begin realizing that food was going to become a part of your navigation through your health?
Absolutely. So when initial testing for Lyme disease came back negative, falsely negative,
Right.
I got referred to some very, very well-known neurologists here in the area, and they diagnosed me actually with hemiplegic migraine, which is a very rare form of migraine that mimics strokes, which was actually Lyme disease,
Right.
but masking itself as something more violent, or equally violent, I should say. And so during that time, my neurologist said, hey, we need to start looking at your foods, because with migraines, food is a huge trigger. I was a little resistant to it at first, because since I was young, I've always been an elite athlete with soccer. And so I have always had a very good understanding that food is fuel. It fuels you on the field. If I wanted to perform on the field, I knew exactly what I needed to put in my body, and when I needed to be putting that into my body. So when nutrition came up, I'm thinking, wow, I understand what I'm putting into my body, but obviously there's room for improvement. So we looked at it. We started tracking everything. We cut gluten. We cut everything down to basic foods. And we really couldn't find a trigger. But something kept coming back to, my body's not processing this. Slowly, my metabolism kept slowing down, and it just kept slowly becoming a problem. I kept gaining weight despite running marathons, half marathons, being involved in CrossFit.
Right.
The caloric intake itself just was not adding up. For anyone who's ever tried to lose weight, and I think that's the majority of the world,
Right.
You understand, a basic caloric deficit is going to eventually add up if you're eating correct and doing things in a safe way.
Right.
They weren't doing that. And with specialists after specialists, we knew exactly what was going into my body. We knew exactly how I was performing in the gym, and it couldn't budge. And that's really when we were there's something with the nutrition aspect that is not adding up, because your body should be able to do this. This is a basic function you're born with doing, and when that process is failing, you're sick.
Right. Right. Okay. So when it suddenly becomes complicated, when someone is already dealing with Lyme disease and another tick condition, changing the way you eat can feel overwhelming. So was that transition like that for you?
I would say I'm going to look at it from the perspective as a family. For myself, I was interested in learning, maybe this is the key. If I can find, if it really is something as simple as a food in my mind, as something as simple as a food, because in that time, you have to consider the perspective.
Right.
I was getting migraines that were literally causing paralysis in my face. I was drooling because I could not control the muscles in my face.
That's dreadful.
And it's dreadful. And they're to the point where if anyone saw me who didn't understand what I was going through, they are going to call 911 because they think you're having a stroke.
Exactly.
And so in perspective, I say it didn't seem that bad having to do food elimination. But I think for anyone who's ever had to go through a food elimination process, it's daunting, especially when you love things like ice cream and donuts and so forth.
Oh, my, yes, chocolate. Oh,
We all have those. We are all going to have those. And when you have to understand that could be something, but I looked at it, if there's one thing on a planet I could give up that doesn't make me like this, sure, I'm going to try it.
right.
So I was willing to do it, but it just became, it was an easy thing for me to do. But when I was trying to educate my family, what was gluten? Because this was probably 15, 16 years ago. The gluten-free world was much different than it was or is today. There's a gluten-free aisle in Wegmans.
Oh, my gracious.
Which is a fantastic aisle. Thank you, Wegmans. Can I put that plug in there? Thank you for having a nice variety.
Thank you, Wegmans. Yes.
Because 10, 15 years ago, it was very difficult to find something that was truly safely processed as a gluten-free product.
Right.
Or that didn't taste like the lawn, cardboard, so bad that it's hard to even palate.
And let me put in there that as an older woman, that the options we have now from when I had to start looking, oh my goodness.
I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine having any sort of food allergy 25, 30 years ago. Having it now, there's just an overwhelming sense of, there's better education, I'll say today, than there was back then. And I think, of course, better education with all things, with better education comes better assistance.
Right. So where did you begin? How did you start eliminating the foods?
The neurologist wanted to start with gluten products. She was very concerned, like you have celiac or something. And I said, okay, fine. I've never actually tried to eliminate gluten. Let's do it. I had some good things come from eliminating the gluten diet. I had a little bit less brain fog. My skin started to clear up because you're eating less processed foods. Because back then, with the limitation of it, you naturally gravitate towards whole foods, which anyone is going to do really well on when you have basic ingredients or a simple ingredient lifestyle. But at the time, it was just gluten. And my family comes from, we're Latino, so you grow up on corn. Corn is gluten-free. Hold on, let me retract that. But you grow up on, I like flour tortillas. I'm probably the only person in my family who loves flour tortillas. And so for me, that was a big thing because you're starting to look at cultural habits when you start to change the way that you eat. And that became difficult at family times, where I had to start explaining to my family, like, okay, if you really want to support me, I'm not eating this to offend you. I'm not eating this because my doctor is trying to help me. And that was tough.
Right.
And I know that for a lot of families, when you're doing process of elimination, that's difficult because you're dealing with routines, you're dealing with schedules, you're trying to deal with convenience. And sometimes when you're trying to do that, there is no convenience because those products don't come readily packaged.
I know. Is it made with corn or is it made with flour? Every time. And then you also have to get into, where is it processed? And when you get into things like alpha-gal, that is a huge thing where you have to take into consideration, how is my food being processed? Who's touching it from A to B? And that's really what the journey of understanding the processing of food is. Exactly.
What's touching it along the way? I think what helped me also was in early childhood education, there's a focus on nutrition that I think is not elsewhere in other parts of education because you have these children sometimes for 12 hours a day. And especially in the DC metro region where everyone is a contractor, everyone is important to the federal government. We all have, I think, this sense of self-importance. So sometimes our children are in the charge of other people for morning, noon, and night. And that makes us responsible for their nutrition as well. So
it's not just peanut allergies.
It's not just peanut allergies. There's soy. There's so many other things. And I, as the education director in charge of hundreds of children at any given amount of time for hours at a time, you had to have an intrinsic understanding of allergies and what foods could trigger those allergies.
Exactly.
So I think that helped me in the greater scheme of things because I could easily navigate this conversation with doctors because that was my job. Is helping small children stay alive during the course of the day. But also because I worked sort of in reverse. When you're in early childhood education, you work on introducing foods because children are eating foods for the first time. So you have to also understand that anytime you're introducing a food or a child is bringing in a snack from home, that food can trigger anaphylaxis.
Correct.
Which is the same thing that a lot of families who have the misfortune of having to deal with alpha-gal understand. Anaphylaxis is something that you can go through as a symptom of having alpha-gal. And that is a game changer. When you have to deal with an allergy that triggers anaphylaxis, your entire life changes.
Well, also, one of the first symptom is vertigo. And you have to explain to the teachers, if you see this person starting to act like vertigo, you better check their food.
Well, that too. And I think what's interesting is we read things like, first of all, don't get medical advice from WebMD, contact your doctor. But, as adults, we read things like that say, when you start to feel disoriented, when you start to feel that, brain fog. But when you're a 3-year-old, how do you explain that? You're going to say, I don't feel good, or my tummy is tingly, or my arm is tingly. And so you're dealing with a population that doesn't necessarily have the vocabulary to explain what's going on to them in an emergency situation. So you really do have to have an understanding of food in ways that go beyond just a regular, hi, we're here to learn 1 + 1 is 2. these are things that, again, I think we talked on the last show, like sometimes teachers and educators don't always get credit for the things we do have to learn. Right. But a lot of that is nutrition, and a lot of it is the science and mechanics behind it.
Well, it's also recognition of physical reactions, not just the emotional, but the biological, physical reactions to whatever is in the environment.
Absolutely. So that just jogged a memory when, because we would have infants in our care. And it's not uncommon. And I think any parent who's ever formula fed their child, sometimes you have to buy what's on sale, or sometimes you buy the new brand that looks like it's even better than the last one because you want to give your child the best food on the market. But when you have a child with food allergies, or if you don't have a child with food allergies, you take that for granted. So we had a child who switched formulas, but mom and dad, big meetings the next morning, huge rush. It seemed the same thing. Didn't think twice.
Right.
I think it was around noon. The teacher went to feed the baby, and the baby starts turning blue instantaneously. I hear screams from the classroom, and the infant classroom was right next to my office, for practical reasons. But, and thankfully for that day that it was, I just heard this bone chilling scream, and I run into the room, and the teachers, nothing prepares you for something like that.
Right.
And when they're an infant, you have a very, very small pathway in which to react. And so I'm fortunate in Virginia, where I was at the time, they put a lot of focus on medical training for admin.
Right.
And in that moment, I was able to react in time and did, my training kicked in. Emergency EMS eventually gets there, and they say to me, thank you for remaining calm in a situation like this, because had you not acted, this child would not be here.
Right.
And I don't mean to say that to be like, wow, I saved this person. I rarely actually think about it. It's more of to show this is how serious this can be when you have children who cannot vocalize for themselves.
Correct.
And so when you have something like alpha-gal, where a child may not even know they're getting bit by a tick.
Correct.
They're out in the woods, they may scratch it off themselves and never tell mom and dad. So you could never know.
Right. That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, let's move to sugar.
I know sugar all too well. I'm a sugar artist, so here we go.
Yes, here you go. I know.
What do you want to know about sugar, Christina?
Sugar. How hard was that for you to get rid of? I know in my story that it was difficult, but in my story, because I have Lyme, and Bartonella, I know that sugar activates bacteria.
Yes, it does. The biology behind that is 100%, because the sugar is their food, essentially.
Right.
When you're consuming the sugar, and it's not just refined sugars either. We have to consider there's sugars and there's carbs and sugars in things like fruit,
Right.
So we have to be cognizant of that. And,
Right.
When I'm sure you found that out along the way too, as you're trying to starve the bacteria of the sugars. That was, I would say, it was difficult, but probably not as difficult as it could have been. And I say that in comparison because my sister's the one in the family with the sweet tooth.
Okay.
I had a sweet. I like the things that I like, but she was always the one like trying to raid my Easter basket. I'm the one that's like, I'll hold off. I'll have some self-control. And she would already inhale like 2 bunnies. So
right.
I think for her, it may have been more of a catastrophe. But when it came down to, having to really starve that bacteria, because I think everyone on their Lyme journey will hit that point where they have to wow, this is difficult. It was hard because I like fruit. I like fresh things. And you have to do without when you're really getting into the nitty gritty, depending on your protocol. And for me, that was one of them, because the better I got, despite all the things we were doing to fix my gut, and a lot of Lyme patients always hear that, we're fixing the gut.
Right.
As my gut became repaired and as I could retain nutritional value from more and more foods, I wanted more and more sugar.
Right.
And that was strange because I was wanting it so bad that I was even craving bad sugars for me. And I knew that was completely different for me. And that just proves for anyone out there, I think, please go research the mind-gut connection, because there really is something. And for Lyme patients, or for any of the tick-borne illnesses with Babesia and Bartonella, because you and I were the same, we have the trifecta in that. They really do drive it. And it's almost like you feel madness. Like for me, I'll say like, it becomes like manic when I want the sugar. I'm like, I need the sugar. I need it. And I'm not that way.
It's like an addiction.
And it does. Well, I don't ever pretend. I don't ever want to walk in someone's shoes. So anyone dealing with addiction, I don't ever want to say that. But I would imagine that that's what it would feel like, because I don't have those cravings, and but it's beyond a craving. It's not just like, oh, McDonald's might sound great. No,
but it's the bacteria driving you to go get sugar.
It is. And it's like a voice in your head, and it's like the bacteria voice, like driving you, go feed me, feed me, feed me, Seymour.
I know. Oh yeah. Okay, so dairy.
I drew the line at dairy. Only because I love dairy. Like, come on, like a girl has to have something to live for. That being said, I knew that if I was going to take on dairy, because I did have lactose intolerance, and that's something that runs in my family. That being said, I researched a lot of how else could I support the gut healing that we were doing in conjunction with my Lyme literate doctor. And at the time I was going I was being support staff for some CrossFit events. And so that was great, because you get to meet a lot of nutritional up and coming supplement companies. And so I met some companies, and this was probably like 6 years ago, that were coming out in the organ meat supplements. And I was reading up about hormones and how it was helping with gut and nutrition, that and colostrum. And so I started taking colostrum, and I started taking these bovine supplements. And I cannot tell you how much that improved my gut health. I've seen it change my skin health, my gut health, and I've seen a lot of other benefits from that. But the colostrum itself really helped me get to the point where I could tolerate dairy, and not just tolerate it, enjoy it. And without getting into the scientifics, I encourage anyone, go look up colostrum, go look up what it is. There's differences. There's something you could probably find that works for you. But it worked for me because, again, it's repairing the system that's already there, not creating a new one, repairing it, healing, true healing. And so after the colostrum, I was able to do dairy. And it's not just hard cheeses, because, if for anyone who has to get rid of cheese, like, well, you might be able to tolerate the hard cheeses, or you might be able to tolerate the goat cheeses, or those things. I can actually tolerate most dairy without any sort of issue.
That's good. Yeah, I ended up where I'm making my own milks.
Interesting.
And I make frosting from cashews. And
you'll have to teach me that recipe. I've never done one of that. But see, I love cashew milk. And see, I prefer the nut milks over the actual dairy milk. For me, they taste better. So we'll have to share recipes.
Oh, girl. Yes, I will. I will, for sure. Now, what you can have versus what you can't have.
That's much more these days than before. So if you had asked me that a year ago, actually, I was probably, there's a post on my Instagram, and it says like, cool story, bro. Have you had to learn something along the lines like, did you have to learn to eat and breathe again? And after my medical emergency, those are true things that had to happen. So I truly had to teach myself how to eat. When I say that, was because I was not physically strong enough to eat. So a year ago, I was really just consuming soups, because that's really all I had the strength was just to swallow a liquid. Even just chewing food would put me to sleep at the table. My mom was concerned. She's like, she's just not eating enough. Like, do we need to put her like a tube? Is she's not eating. And so my doctor, he actually has in his office a nutritionist. And so she works with a lot of patients, and even though he recognized like my struggle with Lyme and the other Babesia and Bartonella wasn't necessarily focused on nutrition, because I was taking care of it more so than perhaps other people had beforehand. But he made this recommendation, and I cannot wait to share it with you. It was basically this microbiome veggie mash that literally anyone can do. So you go to the grocery store, and here in Frederick County, I love to go to H Mart. Because the veggies are very fresh. They're very affordable. So I like to go there. But another reason was he mentioned it's important to get vegetables that you don't normally eat.
Exactly. Yes.
And I'm thinking that's brilliant, because I eat vegetables, but I consistently eat the same ones because those are my favorite. You know, carrots, lettuce, things that are heavily farmed.
Yes.
But when you go to H Mart, you're seeing all of these great exotic fruits, veggies, everything. Things from overseas that are being important that I have never eaten. And even as a foodie myself, great, this is also fun. So I go there, you get about anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 different vegetables. 3 or 5 leafy greens, a couple mushrooms, things you can't pronounce, whatever. Put it in there. You blend it up and you make a mash, and it looks like minced stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, that... I won't presume to say what you're going to say. I'll tell you exactly what I said. But I said, there's no way I'm eating that. Oh my gosh. I'm eating some craziness, but not that. You don't taste the vegetable that you think you're going to taste. The preconceived notion that I was like, oh, that's going to be terrible. And I'm going to say that for me, it was mushrooms. I was never a mushroom fan. It is a texture, consistency kind of thing for me. But now I love mushrooms because I fixed my gut. Adding in a tablespoon of this into the soup broth not only made the soup better, but I started to get the micronutrients into my gut, and it started to heal it. That made me feel so good. And it was something that we could actually track with my doctor from start to finish. Like, once we were using this, wow, Rebekah actually improved. So for that is a very affordable way, and you can freeze it. I have frozen packs, so like I just go break off a chunk, throw it in my little soup stock, and there is my microbiome fix. And it's fresh. It's wonderful. I cannot thank him enough, and that has been a game changer.
Okay. Now that we know that we can have this microgreens mash, we're going to go to a commercial so that she and I can exchange recipes. So enjoy the commercials, and we'll be right back.
Sponsored by A&S Construction is a local and award-winning woman and minority-owned business located right here in Frederick, servicing Frederick County and surrounding areas. A&S Construction specialize in roofing and siding, windows and gutters, and they can even build you a new patio or deck. Call 301-703-2157 or email info@ansconstruction.net. You can get $750 off any roof or siding replacement, or $50 off any roof repairs. Just tell Sandra that Danny sent you. Sponsored by A&S.
What makes for a perfect custom engagement ring? Truly understanding the elements that make a ring that's perfect for you.
We're back.
What makes for a perfect custom engagement ring? Truly understanding the elements that make a ring that's perfect for you. Custom by Colonial. The Colonial Jewelers box. There's just more in it.
All right, we're good to go. All right, so we will stop talking mocktails and we will ask, what have you learned about reading ingredient labels? Are there ingredients or unexpected sources that people might have to
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have been reading labels. Well, actually, I need to thank my mom, because my mom, when you are a kid, you're not necessarily making all your nutritional choices for yourself. So she really taught my sister and I how to read labels. And then when you're in the food industry, you read labels. Something in the food industry people might not understand is that you're not just, having fun for baking. You do have to there's a lot of regulation in it, and there's good reason. So I am Serve Safe. I'm a Serve Safe manager. I could walk into any kitchen and run it. I know how all the protocols should work. So you do understand reading labels when you get into positions like that, but you get into reading labels when you're managing kids in small environments and they have allergies as well. I would probably say the thing that is one of the things that I still struggle with making sure is not in my stuff are the like the emulsifiers,
Right.
and the gums, things like guar gum, and some of the other ones that I probably would butcher if I tried to say them now. But the gums, and these are the things that make our food shelf stable.
Right.
And so earlier I was talking about raw foods, whole foods. In something my great grandmother used to say, she was like, if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not great for you.
Right.
And she always believed in like single ingredient things. So like a potato's a potato. I know what's in this potato.
Right.
But when you start looking at these ingredients, they start to be like a couple inches long on the back of that food thing. That's when you really need to start looking, like, what is in that? Those are the preservatives. If it starts sounding sciencey, really consider what you're putting into your body.
Right. I made a rule at home. It has more than 4 ingredients, don't.
That's a good rule. And that's probably a really good one for families. 4 ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if sugar is one of those top ingredients, it's a no-no.
Don't.
So like, don't go get
Please
Kool-Aid
don't.
or something. And that's 2 ingredients. It's water and Kool-Aid.
I know.
No.
My goodness.
No,
Don't.
that is
No.
not what we're saying.
No. Oh, we're having too much fun. Everybody, it's true. I mean, you need to read these. You need clean foods. There's a list put out by the that I can't remember the website. Anyways, there's the 12. It's a list. Top 12 clean foods list, and USDA, I believe.
I think it might be USDA. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get that list, then you'll know the top clean foods for that year. And I print that list out every year. So look up your foods. Definitely look up foods. How can alpha-gal syndrome and I want to say the other tick bite diseases, because there's over 62 different tick bite diseases out there, and I'm probably forgetting a few of them. How can it change someone's relationship with food?
So I had a friend, I think she's now in Florida, but she was one of the very, very first people in our country to be actually diagnosed with alpha-gal. And this was several years ago, probably, easily over a decade ago. And being her friend, watching her do this, because watching her, I was sick, but we didn't know that it was necessarily Lyme disease. But watching her have alpha-gal was interesting from the perspective of, she would have to, before going to a restaurant, talk to the restaurant staff or owner to see as far as what meats touch what portion of the grill.
Right.
What vegetables were touching this? Like, do you have a separate grill for your meats? Do you have a separate grill for your vegetables? What does your fryer use? And that's when you start getting into the term of cross-contamination.
Right.
She would have to go that far to see if a restaurant was safe
Right.
for her to eat. Because if it didn't matter if they had not necessarily touched the right then and there, but if it had not been properly sanitized, then she would actually go into anaphylactic shock right then and there had it touched it. And so I think people take for granted being able to go into a restaurant and it's not just as simple as, please don't put peanuts in it. we need the peanuts to not be there and that's meat. That's a meat product. And like you said earlier, but it's not just a meat product. So for myself, I have been tested for alpha gal, but my test does not necessarily ring positive. However, I have some very violent reactions. Like I can no longer eat pork.
Right.
I grew up on meat. Like I grew up in Alaska. Like subsistence is life. You hunt, you fish, you like stuff that is meat. Sorry to all the vegans. I actually tried to be vegan. I couldn't do it. So like, it comes back down to I love cheese too much to be vegan.
Right.
But so I can't eat pork anymore. And it's the smell alone of pork cooking.
Oh, yes.
Makes me nauseated. I will no longer be able to eat. And it's really unfortunate because my dad, like growing up, one of our famous Midwestern is chili.
Yes.
With green pork, is a green chili and pork because we're from Colorado. And so, I mean, oh my gosh, that is a childhood staple, that and a fresh flour tortilla. And I just told you, like, RIP tortillas for Rebekah. So, you know, again, you're going down to my childhood memories, your cultural heritage. Those are things that change. When my dad goes to make that, which is a comfort food from his childhood, so he makes it all the time, I can't be in the same room.
Sorry.
And so, you know, that's tough. And, you know, but I'm at the same time not going to go to a restaurant and demand that, you know, please don't cook pork. So I have to take those adjustments, and I make those adjustments in my life. And I think not everyone understands that, you know, sometimes I just can't go to a restaurant because of something like that. Not because I don't want to patron them. It's just because I don't want to be sick for the next couple days.
Correct. The emotional side of food. Talk a lot about when someone can't eat certain food and comfort, like you said, tradition, connection. What is the grieving process like, and do you miss the times before you became ill?
Oh, those are good questions. So when Sally and I opened the Hive, we wanted it to be a place of community. And that's something that we always have said in all of our interviews going back to the very beginning. And for us, that's because food is community. Food was always, you know, you're sharing food when you're sharing stories around your family table. Those were always the memories that we had as kids. And even when we traveled, we were fortunate to be able to do some world travel. That's something we always saw in common around the world was food is a common denominator when you share stories and you share culture. You know, we all have stories with our grandparents. We have stories of we made this with our friends. That's how it changes. And so after the Hive, you know, that was something that we wanted. That was part of the magic. We wanted everyone to experience what we had through our food. And we wanted people to experience the world through our eyes, through food. That changes when you can't eat the foods that you used to love. I tell my family all the time, I almost wish that I had been born this way. It's cruel sometimes because you have memories of how amazing this was. And those memories are tied to, wow, I had this at my second Christmas at my aunt's house, or I had this amazing product when we did this in Arizona. And that's tough because you're like, wow, I can never do that again. I will never feel that because I can never eat that food again, ever. There's some finality in that that's very difficult to digest.
Right. It's difficult, and if you had to say something to someone who has just been handed the list of foods that they can't have, and they're thinking, what do I do now?
It gets better. There is hope. I promise you. I promise you. I eat really great food. Most people would never guess that I have the dietary restrictions that I do.
Right.
I don't do that on purpose. I have found creative ways to enjoy the foods. And I mean, this planet has so many diverse foods. So like, I think it was just kind of getting out of my own headspace, like, oh, I can't have these things. I can't do this, you know, and we all can talk all day, but there really is something to mind positivity. And when I changed it to like, okay, let me experience these new foods.
Right.
from the foodie aspect, I think that really helped me, because now I'm learning how to cook all these different meats, because my diet is very much focused on like fermented foods like kimchi, pickles. I'm also eating a lot of, I don't eat raw meat. Hold on, Rebekah. Don't say that, Lyme brain. I eat a lot of meat. So that's like steaks, because I work hard to make sure that as my alpha gal it doesn't progress, and I'm working on, desensitizing myself with things like that. And so I try to eat a lot of red meats, but I'm eating a lot of fresh vegetables. I'm going to the farm stands. I'm going to these wonderful places here in Frederick County, even in neighboring Loudoun County. We're fortunate enough to have really healthy farms.
We are blessed with some of the most magnificent farms here in Frederick County.
Absolutely. Just yesterday, I was having breakfast with a girlfriend here in Frederick. Actually, I'll plug her. She's Sharon Volpe. She owns Frederick Window Tinting. I was dropping off fresh peaches, and the peaches I have on my farm, they're pesticide free. We grow them right off the farm. I was sharing that with her. But on the way back home, I think we take for granted how amazing that is. On the way back home, you can stop at these farm stands. And I think if we made a little bit more effort to stop at these farm stands and buy fresh and buy local, you can make very easy adjustments to your regular diets. So it isn't like, oh my gosh, now I have to spend a fortune. I don't know what these words are. I don't know what gluten is. It's not as hard as it seems. There are so much good foods out there, and I still eat desserts.
And trust us, you can reach out to either one of us and find out. I'm a health coach. She was in the health industry as well. So if you need anything, you can reach out to us and ask questions. Send us your questions, please. We want to that you are listening. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching tonight, please ring that bell, okay? Subscribe. Okay? We need you. And I think that our community needs us, all right? So, Rebekah, through this experience, what have you learned that you wish the doctors, families, restaurants, and the general public understand about living with dietary restrictions?
Dietary restrictions are something that really change the framework of how you hit every day going. Like how when my toes hit the ground, you really are thinking, what's my next food decision?
Right.
And Lyme disease, I think we all just assume, or I'll say I assumed, it's a tick bite, you get sick, you get better. I would have never in a million years thought this really would be a nutritional choice as well. And when I consider that a lot of our physicians in this country don't even take a basic nutrition course during their time in medical school, that's a real concern. Because if you don't have your doctor having a basic understanding of how to heal your gut through nutrition, because food is medicine, there's no hope.
Right.
So learn nutrition. Learn these things, start reading labels. You can make very, very easy adjustments without overhauling your diet and having to, convince your significant other to get on board with something like this. It can be done, and you can do this. Even if you don't have Lyme disease, you can make a very small adjustment and fix your diet. It's going to be something that everyone can win from.
Absolutely. Now, I want to say that we're going to go through the before we close segment. But I want people to understand that we're trying to discuss the nutrition problems that happen when you get a tick bite disease. No matter which one it is, there will be diet changes because everybody's biology is different, and your body can only adapt so far in order for the immune system to fight off the diseases. So that's what I want you to take away from tonight, okay? Now we go into, before we close, I always want to bring Frederick Tick Talk back to prevention. Knowing everything you know now, I what do you wish you had known about preventing tick bites before your journey began?
I wish I would have known about permethrin. I think back then I only knew about DEET or citronella.
Right.
But I wish I had understood more about prevention, that I could have been spraying myself with permethrin this whole time. Or at least even making a recommendation to the admins that I was working for when I was initially a preschool teacher, where I got I got my bite. I could have made that recommendation. Whether they chose to follow it or not, I still would have felt better, because even to this day, it still bothers me, because I feel like I should have said more. I should have tried hard enough, especially now that I've been vindicated with the diagnosis, that I was right this whole time.
Yes.
I feel like I should have tried harder, and I know that that's 2020 and that's not the case, but permethrin prevention. Take 5 minutes to educate yourself on Lyme disease, and you won't end up with my story. My story is a 15-year to life sentence. I will never recover from this, so don't be me.
Ditto. Ditto. Now, where can people follow you and learn more about Bitten Not Broken and get a hold of you so that they can get more information?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, I have 2 profiles. One is my professional page, which is Bitten Not Broken. For those of you who want a little bit more of a sassy Appalachian farm motif, you can follow me on my personal page at The Sweet Sicario.
Wonderful. Okay, so as I said before, individual food needs and reactions vary. Rebekah is sharing her personal experience with all the viewers, about all of the allergies, suspected alpha-gal syndrome, or other medical dietary needs should be worked with an appropriate healthcare professional. Please find a doctor that understands about these things, whether it's a naturopathic doctor, a Lyme literate doctor. Please find them. If you need anybody to point you in that right direction, you can contact Rebekah, or you can contact me at frederickticktalk@gmail.com. I am always happy to help you, and always remember, wear your bug repellent. It only takes, 2 minutes to put it on, and a lifetime to not be. So stay well, stay safe, and remember, awareness saves lives.
You've been listening to the Tick Talk Podcast. You've been listening to the Tick Talk Podcast, hosted by Christina Murphy. If this episode informed, inspired, or helped you better understand Lyme disease, take a moment to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps these conversations reach the families and communities who need them most. As always, you can watch all past episodes on the Everything Frederick Live YouTube channel.